The chamber floated in the void like a jewel catching starlight. Inside, beings from 47 different worlds sat in their designated seats, each one representing thousands of years of civilization. The air hummed with translation devices, turning countless languages into something everyone could understand. At the center of it all, a holographic display showed an ancient message that had just been decoded. Hyun-woo sat in the back row, trying not to draw attention to himself. He was the first human to ever attend a Galactic Council meeting, but only as an observer. Earth had discovered faster than light travel just 3 years ago, and the Council still debated whether humanity deserved a real seat at the table. He wore a simple blue uniform, far less decorated than the elaborate outfits around him. The message playing on the display looked old, corrupted by time. It came from the Elders, a race that had vanished thousands of years before most current civilizations had even learned to make fire. Everyone knew the Elders had been powerful, wise, and mysterious. What no one knew was why they had disappeared. "The translation is complete," announced Kixnor, the Council's chief historian. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he read from his datapad. The message is a warning. It lists several species that the Elders encountered and deemed dangerous. The chamber filled with murmurs. Warnings from the Elders were rare. Most of their remaining messages contained scientific formulas or philosophical texts. "Read the list," demanded Velthar. He was a Crinian, tall and covered in dark scales that gleamed under the chamber's lights. His people controlled the largest military force in known space. He sat forward in his seat, eager to hear which species the Elders had feared. Kixnor's voice grew somber. "The Devourers of Antares 7, the hive mind of the outer darkness, the machine collective of Andromeda." He paused. "And humanity of Earth." Silence fell over the chamber. Then someone laughed. It was a wet, bubbling sound that came from Ambassador Krell, whose species breathed methane. "Humans?" Krell's translator crackled with amusement. "The species that just learned to leave their own star system? The ones who still use chemical rockets for planetary launches? Those humans?" End quote. More laughter spread through the chamber. Hyun-woo felt his face grow hot, but he kept his expression neutral. He had trained for this, knew that Earth was being judged. Velthar stood, his massive frame casting shadows across the floor. "I propose we examine this warning more closely. What exactly did the Elders say about humanity?" Kixnor scrolled through the data. "The exact words are, 'Never engage humanity in conflict. They are Deathworlders who refuse to yield. They will suffer any cost, endure any hardship, and adapt to any challenge. In war, they become something else entirely. Observe them. Study them. But never give them reason to unite against you.' Deathworlders," Velthar repeated, his tone mocking. "Yes, we know Earth has high gravity and aggressive predators. Many Council worlds have similar origins. This proves nothing. The Elders rarely gave warnings without reason," Kixnor said quietly. But his voice was lost in the growing debate. "I have reviewed human military capabilities," said another council member, a being made of crystalline structures that chimed when she spoke. "They have no energy shields. Their ships use primitive fusion drives. They have never fought a space battle. By our standards, they are children playing with toys." Hyun-woo wanted to speak, to defend his species, but observers were not permitted to address the Council directly. He could only sit and listen as beings from across the galaxy dismissed Earth as irrelevant. Velthar raised his hand for silence. "I propose a solution. Humanity has just entered galactic space. They are expanding rapidly, claiming systems without Council approval. If we are to maintain order, we must establish our authority now, while they are still weak." "What do you suggest?" asked the Council speaker, an elderly being whose species had founded the Council itself. "We place military installations in the Sol system," Velthar said. "We make it clear that humanity expands only with our permission. They will accept our guidance, or they will face consequences." This will prove whether the Elder's warning has any merit. Kiexnor stood abruptly. This is foolish. The Elders placed humanity on the same list as the Devourers, the species that consumed 17 inhabited worlds before we stopped them. We should approach with diplomacy, not threats. The Devourers were a real threat, Velthar shot back. Humanity is not. Look at their observer. Sitting there in his simple uniform. Does he look invincible? Does he terrify you? All eyes turned to Hyunwoo. He met Velthar's gaze calmly, remembering his training. Say nothing. Show no weakness. Let them underestimate us. I see a young species out of its depth, Velthar continued. I see a civilization that needs guidance before it harms itself. The Elders were brilliant, but even they made mistakes. This warning is thousands of years old, based on an early encounter with humanity. People change. Civilizations evolve. The vote was called. 41 members voted in favor of Velthar's proposal. Only 5 opposed. Mostly elder species who remembered that the Elder's warnings usually came true. As the council adjourned, Hyunwoo activated his communication device and sent a message to Earth. It was brief. Just 3 words. They are coming. He stood and walked toward the exit. As he passed Velthar, the Crinian looked down at him with something like pity. Do not worry, human. Our forces will protect your system. You will learn that the Council's rule is beneficial. In time, you will thank us. Hyunwoo stopped and looked up at the towering warrior. For just a moment, he let his diplomatic mask slip. In time, he said quietly, you will remember this conversation and wish you had listened to the Elders. Then he walked away, leaving Velthar frowning in confusion. Outside the chamber, Hyunwoo allowed himself a grim smile. They had no idea what they had just started. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near-extinction events. They had clawed their way to the stars through determination and blood. The Council was about to learn why the Elders had been afraid. The red surface of Mars filled the view screen as Captain Jiwoo stood on the bridge of the EDF Indomitable. 6 months had passed since the Council's vote, and now 200 alien warships surrounded Earth's solar system like a noose tightening around a neck. Her small patrol fleet of 12 ships looked pathetic in comparison. But they were all Earth could spare, while the rest of the fleet protected the homeworld itself. Captain, we're being hailed again, said her communications officer. It's the Crinian commander. Put him through. Jiwoo straightened her uniform and faced the screen as Velthar's scaled face appeared. He looked annoyed, as if dealing with humans was beneath him. Captain Jiwoo, this is your final warning. The Council has established a protective zone around your system. All Earth military vessels must power down weapons and submit to our authority. You have 1 hour to comply. Protective zone? Jiwoo kept her voice level. You mean occupation? The answer is no, Commander. This is our system. Leave now, and we'll forget this happened. Velthar actually laughed, a harsh sound that made several bridge officers flinch. You have 12 ships. I have 200. Your weapons are decades behind ours. Your shields cannot withstand our cannons. I am trying to save lives, Captain. Your lives. Do not throw them away on pride. Pride? Jiwoo felt anger burn in her chest. But she kept it from her voice. You came to our home uninvited. You demand we surrender our freedom. You call this protection. I call it invasion. 1 hour, Captain. After that, we will disable your ships and take them by force. Velthar out. The screen went dark. Jiwoo turned to her crew. They were young, most of them. Earth's space navy was only 5 years old. These men and women had trained for exploration, not war, but she saw no fear in their eyes. Only determination. Tactical. What's our status? Tactical. What's our status? All ships reporting ready, Captain. Weapons charged. Missiles loaded. We've deployed the surprise packages in grid pattern Alpha, just like you ordered. The surprise packages were mines, thousands of them, hidden among the asteroids of the belt. Primitive weapons by Council standards. But Jiwoo had learned that primitive could still be effective if used correctly. 40 minutes later, the Council fleet began to move. They formed a standard battle formation, shields up, weapons ready. They weren't even trying to hide their approach. Why would they? They had overwhelming superiority. "Captain," said her sensor officer, his voice shaking. "They're targeting the mining station at Ceres. There are 3,000 civilians there." Jiwoo's blood went cold. "Hail them. Now." Velthar's face appeared again. "Yes, Captain? The mining station is civilian. There are families there. Children. You can't. It is an unfortunate necessity." Velthar interrupted. "You need to understand the consequences of defiance. Consider this a lesson in reality. Perhaps next time you will." The transmission cut off. On the view screen, Jiwoo watched as brilliant lances of energy reached out from the Council fleet and touched the mining station. The installation's shields lasted 3 seconds. Then the habitat rings began to explode, one after another, blooming like flowers made of fire and death. 3,000 lives, gone in less than a minute. The bridge was silent. Jiwoo gripped the armrest of her command chair so hard her knuckles turned white. She had served in Earth's military for 15 years. She had trained for combat, studied warfare, prepared for the day when humanity might face an enemy among the stars. But nothing had prepared her for this. Nothing could prepare you for watching children die while you stood helpless. "Captain," her executive officer said softly. "Orders? Goad. On." Jiwoo stood. Her voice came out calm, cold, each word precisely spoken. "Send a message to all ships. Text only. Tight beam. Command encryption." Message reads, "You just made the worst mistake in galactic history." "Yes, ma'am." The 12 Earth ships scattered like leaves in a storm, diving into the asteroid belt at full speed. The Council fleet followed, confident, their superior sensors tracking the fleeing humans easily. They didn't see the mines until it was too late. The first wave detonated along the Council fleet's flanks. The explosions were small by Starship standards, but they had been placed perfectly, hidden in the sensor shadows of asteroids. Shields flickered and failed. Then the second wave hit, and the third. "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta," Jiwoo barked. "Target their command vessels. Make every shot count." The Indomitable spun between 2 asteroids, her railguns firing continuously. Earth ships didn't have fancy energy weapons yet, but railguns were simple, reliable, and effective. Tungsten rods traveling at a fraction of light speed punched through weakened shields and tore into Council hulls. Taemin's fighter squadron came screaming out of a debris field, their missiles locked on a Crinian cruiser that had lost its shields. "Fox 3! Fox 3!" Taemin called over the combat net. 12 missiles struck home, and the cruiser broke apart, atmosphere venting in frozen clouds. The Council fleet tried to regroup, but they were fighting in an asteroid field now, and the humans knew every rock, every shadow, every hiding place. Earth ships would appear, fire, and disappear before the Council could target them effectively. "They're trying to pull back," reported the tactical officer. "Don't let them. Stay on them," Jiwoo ordered. The Indomitable shuddered as enemy fire found her shields, but she kept pressing forward. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 47 Council ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest fled to the outer system, regrouping beyond Jupiter. Jiwoo's fleet had lost 3 ships. 9 remained, all damaged, all running on emergency power. Her crew cheered, hugging each other, crying with relief. But Jiwoo didn't celebrate. She looked at the tactical display, at the debris field that had been the mining station. 3,000 people who had woken up this morning thinking about work schedules and school assignments and what to have for dinner. Comms. Open a channel to Earth Command. Priority. Alpha. The face of Admiral Park appeared on screen. He looked old. Tired. We saw everything, Captain. Well done. Well done? Jiwoo's voice cracked. Sir. They murdered 3,000 civilians. They didn't even hesitate. Day? Jiwoo's voice. I know. The Admiral's expression was grim. The Council has just broadcast a message to Earth. They demand our immediate surrender, or they will start targeting our cities. They've given us 24 hours. Jiwoo felt something break inside her. Something that had kept her human, kept her civilized. What are your orders, sir? As of 10 minutes ago, the United Earth government has declared a state of total war. Every resource, every factory, every person is now dedicated to one purpose. The Admiral paused. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten humanity's children. Captain, bring your fleet home. We have work to do. The screen went dark. Jiwoo looked at her crew, saw the same cold rage reflected in their faces. You heard the Admiral. Set course for Earth. Best speed. She turned to her tactical officer. And send a message to all Earth stations, all colonies. Everyone. Tell them what the Council did today. Make sure every human being in this system knows exactly who we're fighting and why. As the Indomitable limped toward home, Taemin's voice came over her private channel. Captain, I lost my sister on that station. She was a teacher there. Her students were 6 years old. Jiwoo closed her eyes. I'm sorry, Taemin. Don't be sorry, Captain. Just promise me we make them pay. We will, Jiwoo said. 2 years had passed since the Council murdered 3,000 humans at Ceres Station. 2 years of war that had reshaped the galaxy in ways no one had predicted. Engineer So-Ra stood in the massive orbital shipyard above Earth, watching as the latest batch of warships took shape. Assembly robots moved in perfect coordination, building vessels at a speed that would have been impossible before the war. Below her, Earth's surface glowed with the lights of factories that never slept. Humanity had transformed itself into a war machine, and So-Ra had helped design the engine that powered it. Dr. So-Ra, the prototype is ready for testing, said her assistant, handing her a datapad. She looked at the specifications for the Ghost Drive, her greatest creation. The Council had faster-than-light travel, but their jump drives were predictable. You could calculate where a ship would emerge from FTL and be waiting for it. So-Ra's drive was different. It used quantum fluctuations to make each jump slightly random, unpredictable. A ship could aim for a target system and end up anywhere within a light year of it. The Council called it primitive and dangerous. So-Ra called it a weapon. Begin the test sequence, she ordered. Across the galaxy, in what had once been Council space, Taemin sat in the cockpit of his fighter. Around him, 200 other pilots waited in the darkness between stars. They were the Ghost Squadron. Volunteers who flew missions deep into enemy territory with almost no chance of survival. Almost no chance wasn't the same as no chance. Taemin had flown 43 missions and was still alive. He'd lost count of how many Council ships he'd destroyed. Ghost Leader, this is Ghost Command. Target coordinates confirmed. Council shipyard at Kepler Station. You are go for insertion. Taemin keyed his mic. Copy that, Command. All Ghosts. Check in. One by one, his pilots confirmed ready status. They were about to jump into a system defended by over 100 warships. Their target was the massive shipyard that supplied the Council's northern fleet. Intelligence said it was impossible to attack. The defenses were too strong. Taemin smiled grimly. Humanity had built its entire war strategy on doing impossible things. Engage. Ghost drives on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Space twisted. Reality bent. The squadron vanished from sensors and reappeared scattered across the Kepler system. The Council's defensive formations were designed to catch ships emerging at the standard jump points, but SORA's drives dumped them randomly across a sphere of space millions of kilometers wide. All ghosts. Converge on target. Weapons free. The fighters screamed through space. Too small, and too fast for the big guns on the capital ships to track effectively. Missiles launched. Thousands of them. Each one carrying a warhead that human factories had stamped out by the millions. The Council had better weapons, but humanity had learned that quantity had a quality all its own. The shipyard's shields lit up as missiles struck home. Then Tae-min's fighters were through. Their railguns tearing into the construction frames where new Council ships were being built. Metal screamed. Atmosphere vented. Construction crews died by the hundreds. Tae-min felt nothing. He'd stopped feeling 2 years ago, the day his sister died. Ghost Leader. Council reinforcements incoming. Heavy cruiser class. Copy that. Execute breakaway pattern, Charlie. See you back home, ghosts. The squadron scattered again, each ship jumping to a different random point. The Council ships tried to follow, but lost them in the quantum noise. Out of 200 fighters that had started the mission, 173 made it back to the rally point. It was considered a successful operation. Meanwhile, on a Council fortress world that had never been attacked in 3,000 years of galactic history, Special Forces Commander Dae Jung crawled through a ventilation shaft with 11 other soldiers. They wore stolen Council uniforms and carried weapons taken from enemy dead. They had walked right through the front door of the fortress 2 days ago, and no one had questioned them. Humans all looked the same to most Council species. It was a weakness Dae Jung had exploited 17 times now. Target room ahead, whispered his second-in-command. Guards at the door. Stun them. No noise. 2 guards dropped silently. Dae Jung's team dragged them into the room and sealed the door. Inside was the main communication hub for this entire sector of Council space. Every military transmission, every strategic order, passed through this room. Dae Jung pulled out a data spike that SORA's team had designed. He plugged it into the main console and activated it. The virus began spreading immediately. Corrupting files, stealing data, and most importantly, broadcasting a message to every Council world in range. The message was simple. The Elder's original warning about humanity, along with footage of the Ceres Station massacre. Package delivered, Dae Jung reported. Exfiltration in progress. They didn't make it. Council security figured out what was happening and locked down the fortress. Dae Jung and his team fought their way to the roof, where a stealth shuttle was supposed to extract them. The pilot died in the approach, shot down by anti-air fire. Well, said Dae Jung, reloading his weapon as Council soldiers poured into the stairwell below. Looks like we do this the hard way. They held the roof for 4 hours before human reinforcements arrived. Dae Jung survived, with 6 of his team. The other 5 died buying time, but the message had been sent. Across Council space, civilians watched the footage of Ceres Station. They saw the casual cruelty, the murder of children. They heard the Elder's warning and began to wonder if their leaders had made a terrible mistake. Public opinion started to shift. Protests erupted on Council worlds. Some species began questioning whether this war was just. A few even refused to send more troops. Velthar watched all of this from his command ship and felt cold fear for the first time in his life. The war was 2 years old, and the Council had lost more territory in that time than they had in the previous 1,000 years combined. Human ships were everywhere, striking targets that should have been unreachable, using tactics that made no logical sense. They sacrificed ships and lives without hesitation if it meant completing their objectives. They fought with a ferocity that terrified Council soldiers, who had never faced an enemy willing to die for victory. Worse, they were learning. Every captured Council ship was stripped down, its technology analyzed and copied. Human engineers like SORA took advanced alien systems and somehow made them better, simpler, more reliable. Human factories outproduced the entire council combined because they never stopped, never slowed down. Commander, intelligence reports another human fleet has jumped into the Rigel sector, his tactical officer reported. They're hitting our supply lines again. Veltar studied the tactical map. Red markers showing human advances covered half of what had been council space. Blue markers showing council victories were few and far between. He remembered the Elder's warning. Deathworlders who refuse to yield. They will suffer any cost, endure any hardship, and adapt to any challenge. Send a message to the council, Velthar said quietly. Request immediate reinforcements. All available ships. His officer hesitated. Sir, the council is already sending everything they have. Then tell them to send more. Velthar's hands trembled as he gripped his command console. Because if we don't stop them soon, there won't be a council left to save. In her laboratory above Earth, Sora approved the production of 10,000 new ghost drives. In his fighter, Taemin prepared for his 44th mission. In a hospital on Mars, Daejung recovered from his wounds and planned his next infiltration. And on every human world, in every factory and shipyard and training center, millions of people worked with single-minded purpose. The council had killed their children. There would be no peace, no compromise, no mercy, only victory. 4 years into the war, the human armada arrived at Kryn, homeworld of the Krynian Empire. General Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of the flagship Retribution, watching the planet grow larger on the view screen. He was no longer the quiet diplomat who had sat in the council chambers years ago. War had changed him, hardened him, turned him into something else. General, we're receiving a transmission from the council, said his communications officer. They want to negotiate. Put it through. The screen showed not Velthar, but the council speaker himself, the ancient being who had presided over that fateful vote 4 years ago. He looked older now, tired in a way that went beyond physical exhaustion. General Hyun-woo, we wish to discuss terms of peace. I'm listening, Hyun-woo said, his voice neutral. We propose a return to pre-war borders. The council will pay reparations for the Ceres Station incident. We will grant humanity full council membership with voting rights. We acknowledge that our initial approach was mistaken. Hyun-woo was quiet for a long moment. Around him, his bridge crew waited. They had fought for 4 years, bled for 4 years, lost friends and family for 4 years. Now the council wanted to pretend it had all been a misunderstanding. No, Hyun-woo said simply. The speaker's expression showed confusion. No? General, we are offering you everything humanity wanted. Full membership, equal status, compensation for... You murdered 3,000 of our people, Hyun-woo interrupted, his voice cold. You did it to teach us a lesson, to show us our place. You wanted us to be afraid. It was a mistake. A terrible mistake. That we... Unconditional surrender, Hyun-woo said. Every council member world that voted for war will submit to human occupation until we are satisfied you can be trusted. You will dismantle your military forces. You will accept human oversight of your governments. You will pay reparations not for 1 station, but for 4 years of war. These are my terms. Everyone. The speaker's face showed shock. That's impossible. No civilization in galactic history has ever accepted such terms. It would mean the end of the council, as we know it. Then, I suggest you find a new way to know it, Hyun-woo said. You have 24 hours, the same amount of time you gave us. Hyun-woo out. The transmission ended. His tactical officer looked at him with concern. Then we will visit every world that voted for war, starting with this one. We will show them what it means to threaten human children. Hyun-woo's expression never changed. Prepare the fleet for orbital bombardment. Target military installations only. I want 0 civilian casualties. Yes, sir. On the planet below, Velthar stood in his command center and watched the human fleet deploy into attack formation. Every ship in the Crinean Defense Force had been called home. Over 3,000 vessels surrounded their homeworld, the largest concentration of military power the Council had ever assembled. "All ships report ready, Commander," his tactical officer said. Velthar looked at the numbers. 3,000 Council ships against 800 human vessels. In any rational universe, those odds meant certain victory. But nothing about this war had been rational. "Engage the enemy," he ordered. The Battle of Krynn lasted 6 days. Human ships fought with the same desperate ferocity they had shown since the beginning. But now, they had experience, superior technology, and a tactical flexibility that the Council could not match. The ghost drives let human ships appear anywhere, anytime. Their weapons, copied and improved from captured Council technology, hit harder and fired faster. But the Council had numbers, and Velthar had chosen to fight in his home system, where he knew every asteroid, every moon, every orbital platform. His ships fought with the desperation of defenders protecting their families. On the third day, Captain Ji Woo's ship, the Indomitable, was hit by a barrage that collapsed her shields. A Crinean cruiser moved in for the kill. "All hands, brace for impact," Ji Woo shouted, as enemy fire tore into her hull. Explosions ripped through the ship. Half her crew died in seconds. But the Indomitable wasn't dead yet. Ji Woo rerouted emergency power to weapons and fired point-blank at the Crinean cruiser. Both ships spiraled out of control, locked together by debris and gravity. "This is Captain Ji Woo, to all human ships. My vessel is crippled. Do not attempt rescue. Repeat, do not attempt rescue. Continue the mission." But Taemin's fighter squadron was already screaming toward her position. Fighters swarmed the damaged section of space, driving off Council ships, while emergency shuttles pulled survivors from the Indomitable. Ji Woo was one of the last to evacuate, refusing to leave until all her surviving crew were safe. On the 5th day, Velthar's flagship lost power. Human boarding teams cut through the hull and fought their way to the bridge. Velthar stood with his weapon drawn, ready to die, defending his ship. Then the door opened, and Captain Ji Woo walked in. She was injured, her uniform torn and burned, but she was alive. She held a medical kit, not a weapon. "Commander Velthar, I am taking you into custody. You and your crew will be treated according to the laws of war." Velthar stared at her in confusion. "You should execute me. I gave the order to fire on Ceres Station. I killed your people." "Yes, you did." Ji Woo's expression was hard. "And you will answer for that. But we are not you. We don't murder prisoners. We don't target civilians. We fight to win, but we don't lose our humanity in the process. I don't understand. You've fought for 4 years with such brutality, such ruthlessness. But now you show mercy?" Ji Woo stepped closer. "We don't hate you, Commander. We just won't let you hurt us, ever again." There's a difference. Medical teams moved in to treat wounded Crinean crew members. Human soldiers helped injured Council troops to safety. Velthar watched in amazement as the same humans who had been killing his people hours ago now worked to save them. A medic named Nari knelt beside a badly injured Crinean officer. "Don't move. You have internal bleeding. I'm going to stabilize you." "Why?" the Crinean gasped. "Why help me?" "Because the fighting's over," Nari said simply. "And because you're hurt." On the 6th day, the Crinean Empire surrendered. Velthar himself signed the documents, broadcast to every Council world. Other species watched and understood that if the mighty Crineans had fallen, resistance was futile. Within a month, every Council member that had voted for war had surrendered. The few that tried to keep fighting were blockaded until their populations demanded peace. General Hyun Woo stood in the same council chamber where this had all begun. But now, humans sat in the central seats, and former council members sat in the outer rings. The power structure had completely reversed. "The terms of surrender are clear," Hyun Woo announced. Military forces will be reduced to defensive levels only. Human observers will monitor all former Council worlds for a period of 10 years. Reparations will be paid according to the schedule we have established. He paused and looked around the chamber. But let me be absolutely clear about something. We did not fight this war for conquest. We fought because you gave us no choice. We will honor the terms of surrender, but we will also work toward a future where this kind of war never happens again. Number 1. We contour number 1. We contour number 1. The Council dismissed the Elder's warning because you thought you were superior. You learned that superiority is not about technology or numbers. It is about will, determination, and the refusal to yield to tyrants. Velthar sat in the outer ring, wearing the simple clothes of a prisoner. But he was alive, and that was more than he had expected. He thought about the past 4 years. About all the warnings he had ignored. The Elders had been right. They had tried to warn the Council. And the Council had learned the truth the hard way. Humanity was invincible. Not because they could not be hurt, but because they would never stop fighting for what they believed in. And what they believed in, above all else, was protecting their own. 10 years had passed since the end of the war. The Galactic Council chamber had been rebuilt, larger now, with seats for species that had once been enemies. The decorations were different too, mixing Council artistic traditions with human influences. A garden grew in one corner, earth plants mixing with alien flowers, a symbol of the new peace. Taemin stood at the entrance, adjusting his diplomatic robes. It felt strange to wear such formal clothing after years in a fighter pilot's suit. He was an ambassador now, assigned to help former Council worlds rebuild their relationships with humanity. The warrior had become a peacemaker, though nightmares of the war still woke him sometimes. Ambassador Taemin, the Council is ready for you, said an assistant, a young Crinian who had been a child during the war. He walked into the chamber and took his seat. Across from him sat Velthar, who now served as an advisor to the reformed Council. The former military commander had spent 5 years in prison, then been released early for cooperation with the peace process. He looked older, the scales around his eyes marked with lines of regret. The Council recognizes Ambassador Taemin, announced the speaker. It was a new speaker now, elected by all Council members, including humans. Taemin stood. Thank you, Speaker. I bring good news. The reconstruction of the Kepler shipyards is complete. Engineer Sora's teams have integrated human and Council technology to create facilities that are more efficient than anything either of our civilizations had before. Production will resume next month, building civilian vessels and defense platforms according to the new treaty specifications. Murmurs of approval spread through the chamber. Sora had become famous across the galaxy, not for her weapons now, but for her peaceful innovations. She traveled from world to world, teaching Council engineers human techniques while learning from them in return. There is one more item, Taemin continued. We have detected unusual readings at the edge of explored space. Long-range sensors have picked up energy signatures that match nothing in our databases. The chamber grew quiet. General Hyun Woo, still serving as Earth's senior military officer, despite being offered retirement many times, stood up. His hair was gray now, but his eyes were still sharp. Explain, Ambassador. 15 ships of unknown origin appeared at the edge of the Perseus Arm 3 days ago. They did not respond to our hails. Initial analysis suggests technology far beyond anything we have encountered. Their energy output is concerning. Velthar's voice cut through the worried murmurs. May I speak, Speaker? You may. The old Crinian walked to the center of the chamber. I have spent the last 5 years studying elder records, trying to understand why they disappeared. I believe I have found the answer. He activated a holographic display. The elders did not simply vanish. They were destroyed. Their final records speak of an enemy from beyond the galaxy, an enemy that could not be reasoned with or defeated. Why didn't you share this information sooner? Demanded a council member. Because I only finished decrypting the files yesterday, Velthar replied. And because the description of the enemy ships matches what our sensors have detected. Silence fell like a hammer. Captain Jiwoo, now an admiral commanding Earth's defensive fleet, stood slowly. Are you saying that what destroyed the Elders has returned? Yes. Panic spread through the chamber. The Elders had been the most advanced civilization in galactic history, and something had wiped them out completely. If that enemy had returned, what hope did the current civilizations have? General Hyun-woo raised his hand for silence. How much time do we have? Based on their current trajectory and speed, they will reach the first inhabited systems in 6 months, Velthar said. Hyun-woo looked around the chamber. He saw fear in the faces of beings from 100 different worlds. They had fought each other for 4 bloody years, and now they faced something worse. Then we have 6 months to prepare, he said calmly. Speaker, I request emergency authority to coordinate a joint defense. You want to lead us? Asked a council member skeptically. The humans who conquered half the galaxy want us to trust them? With our defense? Hyun-woo met the being's gaze. We did not conquer you. We defeated you when you threatened us. But we also showed mercy when we could have destroyed you. We rebuilt your worlds when we could have left you in ruins. We shared our technology when we could have kept it for ourselves. This is not about trust. This is about survival. Velthar stepped forward. I fought the humans for 4 years. I watched them sacrifice everything to protect their own. I learned that they do not give up. They do not surrender. And they do not abandon those they have sworn to protect. He looked at Hyun-woo. If this enemy destroyed the Elders, then we need warriors who refuse to yield. We need humans. Number 5. When number 5, the vote was called. It passed unanimously. 5 months later, Admiral Ji-woo stood in the command center of a massive space station that had been built in record time. Around her, officers from 20 different species worked side by side. She had spent the last months training them, teaching them human tactics, learning their strengths and weaknesses. The fleet assembled around the station was the largest military force ever gathered. 5,000 ships, human and council designs mixed together, using the best technology both civilizations could create. Engineer Sora had worked miracles, integrating systems that should have been incompatible. Admiral, the enemy fleet has entered scanner range, reported her tactical officer, a Krinian named Kix, who had lost his father in the Battle of Kryn. Estimated numbers. Oh no. How many? 10,000 ships, ma'am, each one registering power levels equivalent to an entire battle group. Ji-woo felt ice in her stomach, but she kept her expression calm. Around her, officers looked terrified. She touched the communication controls. All ships, this is Admiral Ji-woo. You all know what we face. The enemy that destroyed the Elders is here. The odds are against us. Many of us will not survive the coming battle. She paused, gathering her thoughts. But I look around this command center, and I see something the Elders never had. I see humans and Krinians working together. I see species that were enemies a decade ago, now fighting side by side. The Elders faced this enemy alone. We face it together. The humans have a saying, united we stand, divided we fall. Today, we stand united. Today, we show this enemy that the galaxy has changed. We are not the Elders. We are something new, something stronger. In his fighter, ready for launch, Tae-min listened to Ji-woo's speech and felt something he had not felt in years. Hope. In her laboratory on the station, Sora activated the new weapons she had designed. Technology that combined human innovation with council knowledge and ancient elder principles she had discovered. In the council chamber on Earth, General Hyun-woo watched the tactical displays and prepared to send reinforcements wherever they were needed. And in the command center, a young ensign named Bo-ra sat at her station. She had been born during the war, had grown up in the shadow of conflict, but had chosen to serve anyway. She represented the new generation, children of humans and council species who had learned to live together. "Admiral," Bora reported, her voice steady despite her youth. Jiwoo smiled. "Then let's show them what happens when you threaten our home. All ships, advance to contact. Weapons free." End quote. The combined fleet surged forward. Humans and council members together, fighting not for conquest or pride, but for survival. The battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy had begun. On the flagship, Velthar stood beside Hyunwoo, watching the tactical displays. Hyunwoo was silent for a moment. Then he smiled. The elders warned the council that humans were invincible. They were right, but they did not realize that our true strength was not in refusing to yield. It was in making others strong enough to stand with us. "So we will win? We will fight," Hyunwoo said. "And as long as we fight together, we have already won what matters most." The galaxy learned from the elders' warning. Now it is time for us to become the new elders, to leave our own warning for future civilizations. And what will that warning say? Hyunwoo watched as the fleets engaged, human and council ships fighting as one. It will say that the galaxy survived because different species learned to stand together. It will say that strength comes not from dominance, but from unity. It will say that humans were invincible, but only because they made everyone around them invincible too. The battle raged across the void, and the future of the galaxy hung in the balance. But for the first time in galactic history, every civilization fought not just for themselves, but for each other. The elders had fallen alone. The galaxy would stand together.